Well, let's get straight to that story. A new study has been done on how the top companies on the JSE, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, are harnessing the energy and influence of social media. So, what strategies are they employing, and where is risk and reward? We've got two guests to kick off the show. Japie Swanepoel from Interactive Concepts. It's an online strategy and marketing company. And sitting next to him, Belinda Carrera from Standard Bank, one of the companies who feature in this research. To both of you, welcome. Thanks very much for joining us. Japie, let's set the scene first of all. What was the purpose of the study?
Jeremy, everyone is using social media these days, getting in touch with old friends. We've seen what people are doing in the Middle East. What we wanted to find is, are the big companies in South Africa, the ones that we look up to, the ones in the JSE, are they actually embracing social media? Smaller companies are, organizations are, so we wanted to see those guys. So we took the top 40 on the JSE and we decided to see, are they on Facebook, are they on Twitter, are they on LinkedIn, and what are they doing?
Did you go in with preconceptions?
No. We just thought, wow, these are the big companies. We see them spending lots of money on TV, radio, print, outdoor. Surely they must be extremely active on social media.
Belinda, I'm going to get to you in just a moment, but Japie, just one other thing. Do you think companies understand the raw influence and the power that social media have?
You know, I would say no. And I would say, looking at the whole
I would have been surprised had you said yes. Yeah.
Looking at the Egypt situation, seeing the actual power of that, now I'm actually thinking companies don't know. And had they known, or would they be able to have this information, they'll probably be much more active in it and have a strategy to harness the power.
Belinda, you'll agree it's a very powerful marketing tool, isn't it?
Absolutely, not just a marketing tool, but it's all about managing a reputation. It's about having the connection with people on the ground. It's exceptionally powerful, and if you're not listening, you're going to be irrelevant as an organization going forward.
Principally, how does your brand utilize social media?
We use social media for a range of main objectives, three of them being, the first one being communication, where we make sure that we are disseminating information and we are inviting feedback. So it's harnessing that power of the social networks. Another main focus is really around our marketing activity. So we run integrated marketing campaigns, and we make sure that we use our communities to help us amplify our messaging, help us understand what's relevant to them, what content they're liking. Probably the main focus, though, is our online reputation management program. We run it globally. We make sure we're monitoring our brands. We make sure we're providing feedback to the different countries to help them understand what's really going on at a grassroots level. Without our ear to the ground, we are going to become stagnant.
You've got to have your ear to the ground, but I also suggest to you that it's an incredibly risky communication strategy to embark on, because it really is, it's democracy at work, but you're out there, warts and all. You can't censor this.
No, you can't. I absolutely 100% agree with you, and I think the decision for the Standard Bank to go into social media was a major decision. It was taken to the highest levels. We had to understand the impacts on business. We had to make sure that we were pacing the business. We had to make sure that we had the relevant structures in place internally to be able to actually manage that feedback.
Now, those relevant structures are making sure that you can act on an issue within hours.
Within hours. And that's the main challenge, is the speed of response that's required. And if you are, we try to make sure we get the basics right before we start doing anything fancy. And I think that's what we've been trying to do over the last 18 months, is make sure that we stay true to our strategy and make sure that we keep on pacing the business and making sure they're ready for the influx and onslaught of some of the...
Japie Swanepoel, true to the strategy. You've got to have a strategy. You can't just go into this with a shotgun approach.
You have to have a strategy, and you know what? The strategy needn't be the same for everyone. I mean, if I think of the top 3 companies in South Africa on Facebook in terms of our study, they seem to me to all 3 be doing different things. The one is very much about marketing. These are products. Come on, take this, take this.
Who is that?
That was, in my view, that is Vodacom. Okay. The one is very much about building a relationship and saying this is who we are and do things. They mention products and specials from time to time, but they build a relationship. Woolworths this morning, the first posting was, look what we're doing at Habitat for Humanity, and they're not trying to sell. And then if I look at someone like a Pick and Pay, it seems that that's a platform where you can actually come and say, I have a complaint, and they will address it. So your strategy needn't be the same as the guy next door, but just know beforehand what you want to do. Because a lot of people...
that goes for any marketing strategy, though, doesn't it?
Exactly. Because if you go in and say, listen, we only want to talk to people, we want to discuss, someone asks a question, you're not prepared to address issues, but you address that one, you've opened the floodgates.
So what's the principal driver of your strategy then?
The principal driver is to make sure that we use the platforms responsibly, and that we don't deviate and to have these knee-jerk reactions to these new techniques and tools and all these fast-paced evolutions on the platforms.
It must
we
be
make sure
tempting.
we use it. It is very tempting, but I don't think we should let the dynamism of social media just keep swaying us off course. We use it principally to manage our communications, and we use it again predominantly to help with our service proposition. So in terms of the bank service issues, it is a principal media for us to be able to connect with people and actually resolve their issues. As a financial organization, it is the biggest bugbear with people. We have got a very strong focus on getting service right, so it is one of our core strategies to make sure that we use it for that purpose.
Japie, in terms of what Standard Bank is doing, you also say that they're strong on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Why is that important?
Okay, so I mean, Standard Bank is obviously in the top 10 of what we've done with all of them.
She's not going to give you a better rate of interest. Eh?
Is it? Okay.
Doesn't matter how nice you are.
Okay, maybe some blue beans.
Yeah.
If we look at the top 10 companies on LinkedIn, the number one company, listed company is BHP Billiton. But let's put that aside and say the number one South African company would be Standard Bank. And with over 10,000 people following their page. I don't know if there are 10,000 employees, if they all are there. But there seems to be active. I found news there, stuff that links through to Bloomberg, conversations happening
Okay,
there.
Belinda Carrera, why LinkedIn? Why is that an important part of your strategy?
I think it's the right audience, and these are the people who are interested in financial content, and it's also the LinkedIn community they don't use it for really frivolous activity. I think it's quite a medium to be taken quite seriously, and it's a core part of how we leverage that community to talk about issues, talk about the financial services industry, and funnily enough, we actually use it a lot for our recruitment.
Yeah, I think that's the primary reason. And I mean, you have to put it into context. There are 3.7 million South Africans on Facebook and 850,000 on LinkedIn. Okay, so you're not going to say the same things on Facebook that you will on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is more professional, it's more connecting, it's more getting the right people to come and work for you. So I think that's a perfect platform. But don't say, we're doing this on Facebook, we've got to copy it on LinkedIn. You've got to have that strategy in place, stick to the rules, and decide what you want to accomplish. And that's, I think, one of the biggest downfalls. People don't set the metrics for success in advance. So come the end of a month or a term, they say, we failed. But what did we want to achieve? As many followers as possible, or active communication, or...
Well, Belinda, do you set yourself quantifiables? Is there a way of measuring your performance on this every month?
Absolutely, 100%. Even at a campaign level, we track what is it about a particular sponsorship activity in our community. For example, arts. What do we want to drive? Is it attendance to the events? Is it conversation? Is it what is it? And we make sure that we set those for each platform differently. And was for each community, because you cannot. You said it's a democracy that lives out there. It's not up to us. Our community tells us what they want, and we need to make sure that we're delivering according to what they need, what they're needing to hear from us. So we don't have the same strategy on Twitter as we do on Facebook. Companies that just link the two together and post something on their Twitter stream and it automatically comes onto their Facebook wall. To me, that's going to become irrelevant. You need to make sure you have thought about each platform, what they want, what your community is looking for, and you need to be prepared to change.
Ultimately, are you going to become the most important person in the marketing chain? Is this going to eclipse everything else?
Absolutely.
It's a serious question. I mean, is this going to erode and eclipse, the traditional above-the-line approach to brand marketing?
I think what I have seen is that the business, not just marketers, because I think marketers realize its importance, but the business is starting to really take it seriously. They're really starting to understand the risks involved.
It's got to be a holistic business strategy, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's got to be integrated, and they've got to understand that it has to be managed properly. You can't have people masquerading as your brand out there. It could be very damaging. You can't discuss personal matters on a customer complaint in the public domain. You have to handle it in a private way. So there are risks, there are governance issues, there are processes that need to be followed, especially in our industry. And the business are starting to really understand that it is a core part of their customer contact strategy, the customer relationship strategy.
Japie, very quickly, it's sector specific or sector success specific. You say the most active sectors are retailers and telecoms. You refer to both of those, but interestingly, the least active sector is real estate. So, are there some industries or some sectors that simply don't have a need for a social media strategy, or have they just not thought about it?
You know what, I would say they haven't thought about it and they haven't embraced it. I mean, sure, I can imagine there are more people on a daily basis going to a Pick n Pay and Woolworths than people that buy houses, if you look at it that way. But I mean, if you look at the size of the transaction and the size of the real estate business, that compares well again. So I think they just haven't embraced it. They rely very much on a traditional marketing and communication attitude. And I think if there are two words that we've got to scrap as soon as possible, it's number one, traditional marketing, and number two, new media. Okay? New must just be dropped, okay? Because we're sick and tired of hearing new media like it's not really there. It's there now, okay? And it's just the fact of taking it up. And we know there are certain aspects that we need to address. We know it's more tangible to see a billboard and to hold a flyer in your hand. But if you look at the numbers and if you look at what's happening international, we have to embrace this, because this is where it's going to happen.
Belinda Carrera, last question to you. As someone who is at the coalface of all of this, what's the one big lesson that you've learnt that perhaps other marketers need to be aware of?
I think the major lesson we've learned, and we had a baptism of fire when we first stepped into the social networking space, is make sure that you've got good support from people in the know. We work with very, very strong agencies in the social media space who guide us and make sure that you listen to what they have to say and take their guidance. You can't react and behave the same way that you would normally in a normal situation.
And I hope support from your exco as well.
Absolutely.
That was critical. They've got to buy into
and just be very careful about what you do and how you do it, because a brand like ours that has taken 150 years to get to where it is right now, it can be completely undermined and destroyed in a day.
Appreciate the insight, folks. We're out of time. Enjoyed talking to you. Japie Swanepoel from Interactive Concepts, along with Belinda Carrera from Standard Bank. The report is available online. All you need to do is to visit the website below. Ahead on Mags on Media, why this brand behind me is the most valuable in Africa and how it plans to stay there. We'll also play in the social media space. You can interact with our content on the Mags on Media Facebook page.